everybody. Hello, thank you for stopping by. Just doing a quick PC build today, not my normal content. Definitely not a professional PC builder. I was able to build this PC for $1,246, which I think is an amazing deal. We have a Ryzen 7 7700X, a AMD Radeon RX 7800 XT, a Teamgroup MP44Q 2TB SSD, 32 gigs of DDR5, 6000 CL30 from Teamgroup, and as you can see we have the B650 Aorus Elite AX motherboard. This was a used piece of merchandise from Amazon. It was listed as used acceptable. Just gonna open up the box real quick, see what we get with it. As you can see, it did come inside the anti-static bag, so that's nice. Just take it out of the package here, watch me fumble around with it. As you can tell, I don't do this very often, so obviously I didn't do it correctly. Surprise, surprise. And let's see what we have inside the bottom of the box here. We do have our Wi-Fi antenna, and this motherboard does have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It is Wi-Fi 6, and we have some SATA cables. Pretty basic. Do not have the proprietary plug that normally comes with this board for making your front I/O easier to hook up. But let's get this board out of this package and let's get a little bit closer look at it. I'll zoom in on it for you guys so you can get a little better look at it, see what kind of condition it's in. I have seen some reviews on this board. They don't always give you the best visuals. You get a nice close look at it, see what this board really looks like. It's in really good shape. You can barely tell that it's used. There's definitely a little bit of cosmetic stuff on it. Like there's a little scratch there on the heatsink, but all the pins are in nice good shape. All the connectors look fine. Nothing's bent, nothing's twisted. None of the RAM slots are damaged. And we have a ARGB 5 volt, 12 volt ARGB, and 3 PWM fan headers. You have another PWM fan header there on the side. Do have a front USB Type-C. Here's all of your front I/O connections, stuff like that along the bottom. Get a good look at your PCIe slots here, all in good shape. Nice M.2 heat sinks, good heat sink there on the chipset. But I mean, it's really in pretty good shape. I mean, you can tell it was definitely installed before, but I was able to pick this board up for $115. It's normally a $200 board, so I think that's a pretty fair price. The pins inside the socket here are all in pretty good shape. You can definitely tell there was a CPU installed. You can see a little bit that looks a lot worse on camera than it does in person. I do have it plugged in and running. Here's all of your rear I/O. Sorry about that. Fumble. Let's get this socket opened up here, and we're going to get the CPU installed. Again, as you can see here, I have a brand new Ryzen 7 7700X. I was able to pick this up for $244 from Amazon on Prime Day. Comes packed like every single other Ryzen CPU. This one does not come with a cooler. That's okay though. Just an FYI for those of you out there that were maybe wondering. And then again, here's a little bit. When you're putting in your CPU, you're going to want to look for this triangle right here. There's going to be a triangle here on the CPU. You want to match those two up. That way you get the orientation right. Me personally, I don't like touching the bottom of the chip, so I like to hold it along the edges here to make sure I don't mess any of those pads up or get anything on there. Just line up your triangle and the two notches and just drop it in. You don't need to push down on it. You don't need to wiggle it around, anything like that. Lower the cover, fold this arm forward, and it is going to take a little more force than you might expect to put that arm down, and then that cover will go ahead and pop off. You do want to keep a hold of this socket cover in case you ever have to ship the motherboard back for RMA. And then the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to remove these stock cooler brackets. You're just going to take out the 4 bolts. Again, you're going to want to keep a hold of those brackets, so that way if you ever need to send the board in for RMA, you can put them back on. Just throw them back in your motherboard box, keep them with it. And with my cooler from Thermalright, I am going to want to leave the back plate on the motherboard. Most aftermarket coolers, you're going to want to do that, but check with your cooler manufacturer and they'll let you know what you need to do. Just go ahead. Like I said, I'm going to take out these 4 screws, and they're not super tight. They shouldn't be super tight. Anything you're going to tighten inside the computer, it just needs to be snug. You don't have to make any of this stuff super tight. You're not working on a truck here. I'm going to get these taken off and set to the side. Next thing I want to do is put in my M.2. Just going to remove the heatsink here. It's 1 screw and it just comes up. And this motherboard has a nice toolless hold down for your M.2. It's just a little plastic clip that you flip up. You slide the M.2 in. Make sure you take this plastic off of your thermal pad, otherwise your heat shield will do absolutely nothing. And we have the Teamgroup MP44Q here, 2 terabytes, 7,000 mega transfers. I also like that this M.2 does have a graphene label on it, so that'll help transfer heat real efficiently, help it cool a little bit better. Slide this out of here. And watch me struggle to get the package open naturally. But, you know, it is what it is. It can't all be perfect. Just cut the seal here, take and slide it out real quick. Just comes in a nice little plastic container to keep it safe. And now when you're putting this in, there is going to be a notch on the M.2 that lines up with the notch in the M.2 slot, and you're going to want to put it the label side up. Just line that notch up. They slide in pretty easy, doesn't take a whole lot of force. You can see the notch right there. You're going to line that up with the M.2 slot on the board, and you're going to want to put it in the slot closest to your CPU. That'll give you the best performance on most motherboards. Again, check with your motherboard manufacturer. And then we're just going to remove the sealer from the thermal pad here and put the heat sink back on, and just tighten the screw gently. You don't need to crank it down super hard. There's nothing special about it. You don't want to strip out anything or damage anything. Just get it snug. Alright, got that nice and snug. Nothing crazy again, just loose tension. Now we're going to move on to seating the RAM. I like to do this next before I put the board in. We have the Teamgroup T-Create here. And this is DDR5 at 6000 CL30. 6000 seems to be the sweet spot for the Ryzen 7000 series chips. Let's get them out here. I really like the way these this RAM looks. You're going to want to line up the notch. You're going to want to put it in the 2nd and 4th slot on this motherboard. Most motherboards, that's where you're going to want to put them when you're running dual channel. You definitely want to run dual channel. Especially with Ryzen, they really like dual channel RAM. And you're going to line up this notch on your RAM stick with the notch in the RAM slot. You can only go in one way, and it is going to take a good bit of force, more than you might expect to snap them in. You're going to want to hear 2 clicks. Just make sure you push straight down on them. You don't want to put any sideways leverage on it, snap your RAM. And I was able to pick these RAM sticks up for $85 for a 32 gig kit, which I think is a great price. And the case we have here is the DarkFlash DS 900. Now, this is the one thing that I can't in good faith recommend on this build at its regular price. This thing is normally over $100, and for that price you can get a much nicer case. However, I picked this up used. I got it for $67 used off of Amazon. So for that price, I can't really complain. It does come with 4 pre-installed fans that are ARGB, and the white on this case is a little more cream colored compared to some things, but it looks alright. It's got thumb screws on the back that are captive, which is nice. But you'll see once we open this thing up on the back, there isn't a whole lot in the way of wire management, and with the fans on the side there, you kind of lose a lot of space, and all the hardware is just in a bag. All of the fans are daisy chained. The RGB is daisy chainable, which is nice, And here's all of our front IO. You do have a front USB-C, a front USB Type 3, and a separate little lead for hooking up controlling your RGB. Your board goes with that. It does have the individual connectors for your front IO, so that's kind of annoying. Just a little bit closer look. As you can see, there's no grommets for your wire management, which I kind of would like to have. And the front is held on with just one captive thumb screw here, a couple magnets at the top, and it pops up and out. Comes out pretty easily, so that's not bad. And you do have a screen on top and a screen on bottom. There is no screen on those side fans, so that's kind of a thing. Then we're going to put in our motherboard standoffs here. Make sure to put in the standoffs that match up with your motherboard. It does come with like a little socket basically for tightening down your motherboard standoffs. Again, just nice and snug. You don't need to over tighten them. You don't want to strip those out. And I like to put in one screw with it laying down just to hold it in place. Make sure that you don't pinch those wires there with your rear IO and cause yourself a problem. Make sure all your screw holes are lined up. And as you can see, the cutouts on this case are just off, just a touch. We're going to get in all of our motherboard screws here. Just snug them up. They're all in nicely. You can see we got them all in. They're all snug. Again, do not over tighten. I can't stress that enough. You do not want to over tighten anything. This is the power supply I'm going with. It is the Thermaltake 850 GF1. Now the GF1 is an A-ranked power supply on the power supply tier list, but you want to stay away from the Thermaltake Smart series. They are garbage from what I hear. This does have the Smart Fan 0 operation, so when it's under a real light load, the fan shuts off, so it runs nice and quiet. So look inside the box. All of the wires come in a nice pouch. It is a fully modular power supply, which is nice. All the cables are black. They are flat cables, but it's PVC wrap, so they're a little shiny. But it has all of your standard power supply cables. They're all in there. It doesn't come with any zip ties or anything to help with wire management. But this power supply I was able to pick up for $85, which is a pretty good deal for an 850 watt on the tier list. So it's your regular power supply. It's a black box. Looks nice. It does have a 10-year warranty. This is the AIO I'm using. As you can see, it is the Thermalright Aqua Elite 360 in white. It's packaged pretty nicely. Not a whole lot of plastic, mostly paper packaging. Just got the plastic bags on it. There's a nice owner's manual that comes with it. It does have, it's a little weird, the blue fittings. But besides that, it's all white. And here is your mounting hardware. It's got your mounting hardware for most of your Intel sockets, AM4, AM5. Does come with a bit of thermal paste. It is actually pretty decent thermal paste. It's not that bad at all. Get this unwrapped real quick. Now I did lose the footage of me installing my GPU, me installing this cooler, me installing the power supply. But here's a little bit closer look. Real clean, simple logo on it. Nice finish. All of the finish on the radiator, everything is a nice even color. That's the better side. Look at the thermal or the water block. I apologize. The water block is ARGB. All of your fans are pre-installed. They're ARGB as well, and they light up nicely. There's a better look at those blue footings. You see, nice consistent color, and there it is. As you can see, it turned out looking pretty good. I did buy some white sleeves or cable extensions for my power supply. I got those for $16. Now I paid $1,246. I could have definitely saved a little bit of money and easily gotten this thing down to around $1,200 or a little under $1,200. So with a Ryzen 7 7700X, an RX 7800 XT, and 32 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte SSD, I think is a pretty killer system for $1,200 bucks. I really want to say I appreciate everybody stopping by and watching this. This is not my normal content. I do normally post gaming videos, Now we're going to do I did a quick little Cinebench run so you can take a look at my scores. As you can see, I got 1186 on the CPU, all multi-thread, completely stock, didn't touch anything. And then on the GPU, again, completely stock, didn't touch anything. Got a little over 10,000 here. As you can see, 10,376, which is pretty good for a $425 GPU. But thank you so much for stopping by. Please make sure to check out some of my other content. I do post gaming videos. I do live stream over on Twitch as well. Do some live streaming here on YouTube. Thank you. Have a great day.